I remember, Quebec City. It was, and for whatever reason, Quebec took to the band before any city, and even before New York or LA, or we were really popular in Quebec and Ontario, but Quebec in particular. And it was just we loved playing, French Canada. I think, there's some, I don't know, there's some European, obviously, influences that understand art and music much quicker and much more sort of much more easily than other parts of North America.
The last time you performed on stage was during the Civilian Tour 1980. Uh, and after that, that was done for you. And according to your biography there, it took you a year or two to sort of find a job at Polygram that was starting to look into rock and roll. There's a chapter of how you heard Runaway on radio. It says, let's do something with this.
Yeah, well, it was really interesting and in retrospect quite bizarre that, yeah, I think I had a talent for spotting talent, but also spotting talent which was authentic. It doesn't matter what genre you're in, because whether it's rock or progressive music or even hip hop, whatever, but something that has authenticity, as well as the artist has the drive to make it. And you mentioned Bon Jovi, and the story I've mentioned in the book was, when I sat down with him, and he had the song on radio, and he just put his band together, and I said, "What is it you want to be? Who is it you want to be? Because you could be a pop star. You could." He said, he looked at me, and he was putting his rock band together, and his which was became Bon Jovi, and he said to me, "I'll tell you who I want to be. I want to be bigger than Elvis."
Why not?
And when you hear that and when you see that, um, and it's real, and it's real. You know that this person who's saying this to me, it really means it. And after working with him and going through the motions of the first album and the second album, uh, on the third album, we went and got a co-writer. I found Desmond Child. We went to Vancouver, to work with Bruce Fairbairn and Bob Rock, and then we recorded Slippery When Wet and put out the first single, from the Slippery When Wet album. And at that point, he was almost as big, if not as big, as Elvis. And John is doing now is, I think, next year, 9 nights at the Gardens.
Did you ever, when you were early A&R days, you must have been flooded on a daily basis with tapes, demos from, every young kid with long hair, or presumably, new wave artists, pop, R&B, you name it, stuff that
Right.
landed on your desk. How do you even start?
Well, you had to hear, well, obviously music first. Obviously and the music first was that it was something which had it's just it's such a hard thing to describe, that had something that no one else is doing, something unique, something which is authentic in whatever genre you're in, whether it's, hair metal or pop or jazz or progressive music or whatever. It has something which is something that nobody else is doing, that it will have that has and to find that, you have to, when you hear it, that and also there's a vacuum in the world that is missing music, that sound, and that's why I signed bands like, for instance, you say Bon Jovi, but I also signed Dream Theater. I also signed, Slipknot and Pantera. I mean, that was a band that I went down to Texas, running a company, and I saw the video of them, and I saw they play a little club, 50, 60 people. And, I went down, and within 3 songs, I was a fan. I just knew that this band had the magic, had it.
There's one element that I found very interesting in your autobiography is that you, by rock and roll standards, were extremely clean. There's no drug abuse, no alcohol abuse, and you had that conversation with Gene and Paul from Kiss, who seemed to be on a very much on the same wavelength. Do you think that being clean and having your head straight helps considerably the artists?
You're exactly correct. And the artists that I've seen that believe that they're most creative when they're either stoned or in whatever fashion and whatever the drug of choice, if you like, they're taking helps them to become more creative. Generally, it really is not very good, and it's generally their perception of what is really good. When you have your mind clear and you're clarified, and you know what is what and where is when you can actually listen to it and say, okay, with clarity, this is great or this is not great. It's not just something which we believe in our foggy minds.
And as you say in your book, when you have Don Arden as a manager, you better be straight. Otherwise, you may find that your money goes sideways without you ever seeing it.
And we had this meeting with a management company. And I said, look, I heard that we had $150,000 for the tour. Where is it? And they said, oh, don't worry, it's an account, you'll get it, this, that, and the other. And Black Sabbath said the same thing at the very same meeting. Oh, don't worry, you've got this and yes. And they said, well, we heard that we don't own our houses. And they said, oh, well, it's in our company's name, but it's yours. But we don't own our cars, or did we? And they were told a lot of bullshit, and they realized that. And at that meeting, Ozzy, who was drinking at the time, picked up that bottle of Jack Daniels and threw it right at the manager, and it missed him by like a quarter of an inch, just smashed against the wall. And we all walked out, and the lawsuits began. So that's, yeah, we got ripped off, and we were bailed out, thankfully, by Capitol Records because they signed us and gave the or helped get out of our contract with $90,000, which is a lot of money in those days. But Sabbath weren't able to get out of there, and they don't own their first 4 albums.